In 1957, on a still October night in Monroe, North Carolina, a decorated black Marine veteran stood on the porch of his small home holding a rifle close to his chest as nearly 60 Ku Klux Klan vehicles rumbled toward him with torches, guns, and the confidence of men who had never been stopped. They weren't coming to scare him. They were coming to kill him. They intended to burn his home to ashes with his wife and children trapped inside. They had carried out this ritual against countless black families without consequence. But Robert F. Williams did something unthinkable that night, something no black man in the Jim Crow South had ever done and survived. He stared straight into the eyes of the Klan, lifted his weapon, and warned them that if they advanced even one more step, they would not make it out alive. And for the first time in Southern history, the Klan turned around and fled. They ran. This is the story of the man America tried to erase because he demonstrated a truth the government never wanted acknowledged. Sometimes survival demands more than quiet prayer. To understand Robert F. Williams, you must understand what it meant to be a black veteran returning home to the South in the 1950s. These were men who had stormed the beaches of Normandy, who had battled fascists in Europe, and who had fought imperialism in Korea. They wore the uniform with pride, saluted the same flag as every other soldier, and believed the promise that freedom was worth dying for. But when they returned home, they discovered that freedom was not meant for them. In Monroe, black residents couldn't vote without being attacked. They couldn't sit at lunch counters. They couldn't look white people directly in the eyes without risking their lives. The Ku Klux Klan operated openly under the protection of police, judges, and politicians. Lynchings were still happening. They had simply been rebranded as accidents or self-defense. The message was unmistakable. You are not citizens, you are subjects. And if you forget your place, we will remind you with a rope and a tree. Robert F. Williams was born in Monroe in 1925. After serving in the Marines during World War II, he returned home and worked as a mechanic. He watched his community live in constant fear. He watched mothers warn their children never to speak to white girls, never to walk alone at night, never to show confidence or ambition. He watched grown black men look down at the ground while white teenagers mocked them. And he watched the NAACP, the very organization meant to defend black people, tell the community to remain patient, to protest peacefully, to wait for the law to evolve. But patience was getting people killed. In 1955, when young Emmett Till was murdered for allegedly whistling at a white woman and his killers were acquitted in a courtroom that barely pretended to care, something shattered inside Williams. He realized that nonviolence only works if your oppressor has a conscience. The Klan did not. They had guns, gasoline, and a century of unchallenged terror. And Williams decided his people needed the means to defend themselves. In 1956, Williams became president of the Monroe chapter of the NAACP. But he wasn't like other leaders. He didn't limit himself to polite meetings or peaceful sit-ins. He recruited veterans, men who had fought in Korea and Europe, men who knew how to shoot, organize, and defend a position. He told them something revolutionary: we will march peacefully, but we will not die peacefully. If they attack us, we shoot back. White Monroe panicked. A black man with military experience training other black men with weapons was their worst nightmare. Police began harassing Williams constantly. The Klan plotted his assassination. Even the national NAACP office grew uncomfortable. This was not the respectable version of civil rights leadership they wanted. This was something far more dangerous: black people refusing to be victims. Then came 1957, the year everything shifted. Two cases exposed the South's raw hypocrisy. In the first, a white man savagely beat a pregnant black woman in broad daylight. He was arrested, taken to trial, and acquitted in under an hour. The jury didn't even pretend to consider the evidence. That same week, two black boys, ages 8 and 10, were arrested and threatened with prison for allowing a white girl to kiss them on the cheek. The injustice was suffocating. Williams held a press conference and spoke the words that would turn him into a hero to some and a target to others. We must meet violence with violence. We must be willing to kill if necessary. America erupted. White newspapers portrayed him as a dangerous extremist. Black newspapers called him what he was: a man finally telling the truth. The Ku Klux Klan decided Williams had to die. On an October night in 1957, they organized a massive motorcade, 60 vehicles, maybe more, packed with armed men carrying shotguns, rifles, pistols, torches, and cans of gasoline. They planned the same ritual they had performed hundreds of times: drive into a black neighborhood, burn a few homes, shoot anyone who resisted, and vanish. Police would call it a tragedy, newspapers would blame agitators, and nothing would change. But this time something was different. As the Klan convoy approached Williams Street, they saw figures in the shadows. Black men positioned on rooftops, crouched behind cars, standing in windows. And all of them were armed. These weren't terrified civilians. They were veterans who had survived real wars and had no intention of yielding to terrorists in white hoods. Williams stood tall on his porch, rifle raised. Engines growled to a stop. An eerie silence fell over the neighborhood. The Klan leader shouted threats, demanded Williams send out his wife and children, promised to make him burn. Williams did not flinch. His voice cut across the night, calm and lethal. You take one step closer, and it will be the first and last mistake you make. Behind him, rifles cocked in unison, a sound that echoed like a warning shot. The Klan froze. For the first time they faced black men who were not afraid. Black men who were ready. Black men who would shoot back. And so the Klan retreated. 60 cars full of armed Klansmen turned around and sped away. Not a shot fired. Not a single cross burned. Not one black family harmed. News of Williams' victory spread like wildfire. Black families suddenly saw a new possibility: survival through resistance. But white America saw danger and the system moved quickly to contain it. In 1959, the NAACP suspended Williams. They said he was too extreme, too violent, too disruptive. But the truth was simpler. He made white liberals uncomfortable. The civil rights movement was supposed to be about suffering nobly, about proving humanity through submission. Williams shattered that narrative. He voiced what many black Southerners already believed. If someone tries to kill you, you have the right to defend your life. Then came 1961. A white couple accidentally drove into the black neighborhood during a protest and later claimed they'd been kidnapped. Williams sheltered them briefly to prevent violence and released them unharmed. Police charged him with kidnapping, a capital crime. It was a trap designed to deliver him to an all-white jury that would gladly sentence him to death. So Williams fled. He escaped to Cuba, where Fidel Castro granted him asylum. From Havana he launched Radio Free Dixie, broadcasting messages of self-defense directly into the American South. Black families tuned in secretly every night. The FBI tried to jam the signal. Police arrested listeners. But his message spread and inspired a generation. Malcolm X visited him and praised him. Huey Newton and Bobby Seale read his book Negroes with Guns and used it to shape the Black Panther Party. The Deacons for Defense and Justice, armed black men in Louisiana, formed directly because of Williams. They quietly protected Martin Luther King Jr. on his Southern tours, though King could never acknowledge them publicly. Armed black resistance became real. And the Klan's reign of unchecked terror began to crack. After 8 years in exile, Williams returned to the U.S. in 1969 when all charges were dropped. But the movement had changed. King was dead. Malcolm was dead. The Panthers were under attack. And Williams, the man who started it all, faded into obscurity. He died in 1996, his name buried by history. But here is the truth they never teach. The civil rights movement didn't win just because of peaceful marching. It won because white authorities understood that if brutality continued unchecked, black communities would defend themselves. Williams proved that self-defense was not extremism, it was survival. Oppressors don't respond to morality. They respond to consequences. Williams said it best: a man with a gun in his hand is a citizen. A man without one is a subject. America prefers black heroes who don't fight back. Williams refused that role. He lived. He resisted. He made the Klan run. And that is why they have tried to erase him ever since.